All right, welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast. As I'm joined by former star racing Jackson Richardson, who keeps bringing the banter on socials of late as we chat all things Tampa from what was an absolutely wild fifth round of action. Obviously, before we get cracking, we'd like to thank the fans and everyone for listening and supporting the site. It's greatly appreciated. And obviously, we'd like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, 24MX, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkerline for all their incredible support. As without them, none of this would be possible. All right, welcome, Jats. How's life? And thanks for joining us, mate. It's been a wild Tampa, that one, wasn't it? But awesome to see Mookie get the win.
Oh man, yeah. It was a big night. It was an up and down night for fans and riders. I mean, it was brutal. The track ate a few guys up, but then it probably gave us like the best win that we've been able to see in a long time. Malcolm getting the W finally after years of trying, like few injuries over the years. I mean, his career's been up and down when he's been in the 450 class, but yeah, I think it's fair to say it was like pretty like universal where like everyone was just stoked for the guy. So yeah, to see that with the way the race unfolded and like just seeing all like everyone on socials like just are just so pumped for the guy. Like yeah, it's awesome to see and the way that crowd reacted. Like I haven't heard a crowd like that through like the fans going nuts through the TV like that in like I can't remember the last time I heard a crowd that loud. So yeah, it was awesome to see. So good for him. And yeah, just overall like yeah, another good main event. But yeah, unfortunately like yeah, the field is pretty depleted now. So yeah, yeah, it was a mixed bag, but yeah, there's still a lot of guys in the hunt, but yeah, unfortunately it's put a bit of a damper on the season now, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's been a really rough couple of weeks, hasn't it, mate? Obviously, Jet Lawrence last week was announced that he's out. Obviously, Tomac, broken leg, he's out. Prado's done the shoulder, he's out. That really brutal crash for Pierce Brown as well. That was just so nasty. So definitely fingers crossed that he, has a really smooth recovery and he's back out there pretty soon. Probably looking like next year, I'd imagine. You probably with those kind of things, you don't want to risk it or rush it. So, but yeah, what a crazy, just another testament to how brutal this sport is, isn't it, mate? That elite high level, fine margins between success and failure, isn't it, mate? You know that firsthand.
Oh man, big time. Yeah, like it's an absolute roller coaster, and like yeah, and to like I mean, like I feel the worst for anyone. I feel the worst for Pierce Brown more than anyone. Just like having the career he's had, it's been up and down. Showed flashes of brilliance, but then scoring the ride with Star Yamaha and getting that opportunity to ride for them, he's put in a big off season. Was leading the main event and like made a pass for the lead on Max Anstey, who was head and shoulders really above anyone during the day. And then yeah, just a nasty get off in the whoops, and then yeah, ended up doing his T5 and had to get surgery on it, which is yeah just so gnarly. So yeah, just yeah, feel for him, and yeah, just only can hope for him to have a speedy recovery and come back at 100%, and hopefully he can pick up where he left off.
Yeah, mate, well said. And there was a lot of talking points from that race. And before we get on to the actual racing per se, a lot of chat about the lappers. And, Kenny obviously had that massive crash due to the lappers. So much talk about how do you fix it. Listening to Lewis from Vital, he was saying like it's just such a tough thing to do because in road racing you just pull off and you're on the same sort of gradient of surface, really like a flat surface. But in Supercross, you pull off and you miss the whole rhythm section. Like there's so many things, and then the lines change. So like a good line is not the ideal line in a few laps. So it's tough, isn't it, mate? How do you police it? Is there enough cameras to police it? How much weight does the blue flag have? Yeah, there's so many things. Obviously, that'll all be getting talked about. There's no easy solution or remedy, though, is there, mate?
Nah, I look. There's really no solution for it, and yeah, and like honestly, you got to feel bad for Kenny. It was just a victim of circumstance, really. Yeah, and the way the track layout was on the weekend, there was a lot of switchbacks, a lot of 180 turns, and like the lanes were pretty short for the most part, so you don't really get it. You don't really get a chance to stretch out. And like I mean, those top guys, the guys that were at the front, were going so quick, and they caught the lappers in a pretty short amount of time, where the lappers were still in their own battle, because there was packs of them. Usually by then it's stretched out. You might see like you might be coming up on one or two guys battling every now and again, but there was like a pack of five of them. And just the way it unfolded was just so unfortunate. And I was actually listening to Villapoto and Ricky talk about it, and like they came to the same conclusion that like it's hard to like there's no real solution for this. It was just it was just an unfortunate situation for him, but yeah, they I think they said, like, in a situation like that, on a track like that, maybe in points like that, because he did try to thread the needle a bit to shoot the gap in between Hand and Tristan Lane. And then, and it was through the sand, which is like one of the worst spots to do it, especially with that sand section the way it was. There was guys like getting off balance all night, like not just, the privateers, but there was a lot of factory guys that got claimed by that sand section during the night. And then, just tried to shoot the gap. And like sometimes in a situation like that, you just got to go, he was trying to stay on the back of Webb. Sometimes you got to go, all right, I might lose a bit here, but losing 1 or 2 seconds on a guy rather than ending up in an accident where, your chain derails and then, you might have lost 1 or 2 points to him, but then you end up losing, 20 plus. Like, yeah. So, yeah, sometimes you just got to, pull back a bit, which is hard to do when you're in that situation. Like, it's easy for us to say now, like, oh, yeah, you just should have held back and done it. But when you're in the thick of it, when bullets are flying, you're not thinking about what's going on around you. You're only worried about what's ahead of you. So, yeah, it was just, at the end of the day, it was just unfortunate. Grenaded the bike, chain came off, scored 0 points for that night. So, yeah, just a bummer for him. But, yeah, at the end of the day, there's no real I guess, like, I don't know, like rules and that you can put in place or on that sort of thing. They talked about penalizing guys and that, but I don't know. It's just, it's a can of worms, really. It just, you can't really fix it. It's just one of those things that unfortunately happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's so difficult, and obviously there's a lot of chat about privateers and whatnot. But sometimes they lap into the top 10, so that's
Yeah.
a tough thing to really police in the situation where you're cutting out privateers when the factory riders are getting lapped in some cases too. So it's brutal, mate. And I suppose it's like with the tough blocks, if they had an ideal perfect solution, they would have been implementing it by now, but it's just not the
Yeah.
case. And what do you think about those tough blocks, mate? Obviously we saw the RJ incident. They've saved a lot of blokes, hurt a lot of blokes. What they're trying to do is just make it as safe as possible. They have the nets as well now, so there's no bad intention. It's all good trying to save riders from incidents. But yeah, your take on any of that?
Yeah. Like, that's another like different subject where there's no real solution to it. Like the tough blocks can say, I reckon they save you for the most part. For the most part, they're really good. And other times you grenade on them, and then that's when you want to get rid of them. And like, I don't think it would be I don't think it'd be a move to where like you put those yellow stakes in. Like, that's not, because then like, yeah, you're going to end up with a whole nother problem there. And then I know over in Oz and WSX, they use the cardboard boxes, but hey, they have their own drawbacks as well, because you run over those things and then you get the banner caught in your wheel. Like, that's just, you'll run into another issue. You might be able to blow through it easy enough, but you could run into another issue. Like with those ones, like at the Perth WSX round, I think I've seen 4 or 5 guys get a tough block cover caught in the back wheel just in that one race. And then every so often you'll see a situation like what happened to RJ landed on that thing. It seems like it's like once once every it'd be like once every 6 or 7 rounds, maybe, you know. And the tough blocks, I don't really know. I just think that track made for it hard to pass in general, but then it's also hard for you to get out of the way, really, with all the switchbacks and whatnot. Because the lap riders are never going to be in a good spot, you know. You're always gonna. The top riders are always going to have the shits with the lappers. So there's just nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah, well said, mate. Really good insight. And it's like that one that RJ landed on, that was so far to the inside in a weird section that was never meant to be landed on. It was like a base of something in a way, you know, so it was
Yeah,
just a
and
just a weird one. He just got a bit happy.
with that one, that was self-induced. You know, he landed off the triple, the bike unloaded, he slid out, and then it gripped in and just, to use the golf term, he duck hooked it straight into the hay bale. I mean, that thing, he jumped over the hay bales that were on the side of the track. So that was just self-induced, unfortunately for RJ, and it's put him a fair way behind the 8 ball to start the season off. But it's situations like we seen what happened to Cole Davies. He had a rider snag a tough block in front of him, and it pulled it out in front of him, and he went down. There's situations like that had a bit. That's when you go, there's got to be a better solution. But the RJ situation, that was just self-induced, really, and it was unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. We'll get to the 250 East class in a bit, but I think Vial, I believe he got 18th last year and still won the title in his region. So, it's not the end of the world. That class is wild. There's always inconsistency and unpredictability going on there, mate. But I guess we'll send a bit more love for Mookie, mate. How good was he? And I guess those whoops, they were the kind of the main talking point. He was so dialed, phenomenal speed. And just like you were saying, we were talking off air, just the commitment and the technique, as well as just actual gauging things so well, and getting those contact points so spot on when they were deteriorating so much and so difficult. So many guys had issues with him, but he was just clearly ahead, head and shoulders ahead. So awesome to see, like you said, the congratulations. His dad was there, his brother James in the booth, just really awesome scenes there for sure, mate. But those whoops, just absolutely crazy, mate. And as a former racer, definitely hats off to him, mate, from you.
Oh, man, 100%. Absolutely tip the cap to him. Especially for a guy that's been in the class for a while now, been close a few times. Unfortunately, had a few injuries to deal with over the years, and last year, unfortunately blew his knee out before the season. Oh, I think it was it might have been a couple rounds in, but it was out the whole Supercross last year. And then just to fight back, and then the season so far hadn't really gone his way. I mean, especially at round 1, he grenaded himself at round 1. But after that, he's been in the top 10 every week. He's been qualifying well. And then just that race, man, he just found another gear, and it was unreal to watch. He was just on another level, especially in the whoops. I mean, they had the stat up of the whoops, the time segment in the whoops, and he was a second faster than the next guy, which is absolutely insane. And he was doing the double triple coming into the whoops, which not too many guys were doing before then. But then after that, once he passed a few guys, I noticed Cooper Webb and Ken and guys like that just immediately switched to doing that line. And then, just the way he was hitting the whoops was just especially double tripling into the whoops, it was allowing you to carry a lot more entry speed in. And then you were saying, I haven't seen the interview, but he said he was going through them in 5th gear, which on a 450 is like that. You don't do that every weekend. For the most part, you're in 3rd, maybe 4th on occasion. But to go through them in 5th gear is nuts, which definitely helped in that particular set of whoops because, they were real edgy. it was very shiny too. So if you're going through them in a high RPM in the lower gear, the rear wheel tends to spin a bit more, and not only do you lose drive, then the front end starts dropping in, and then I mean it just goes like downhill from there. Like, and then yeah, it's like you basically got a loaded gun at that point, and then you're just waiting for the thing to go off. And then yeah, and unfortunately we seen that happen to Sexton at the end. You know, the thing just dropped in, and because they were so edgy, like once it dropped in, and then it just bucked him off, and then that ruined his race. But yeah, like Malcolm had caught him by then, and like I think it just delayed the inevitable by that point. I felt like he was going to get him, and then just an absolute like clinical ride. Like the track just suited him real well with the way his riding style is. With like he sits down a lot more than the average guy, and yeah, being a bigger guy, it probably helped him on the slippery surface a bit, like just getting the traction down a bit. But yeah, just unreal ride, and then just the fans' reaction to it, unreal. Like yeah, like you could not be more stoked for a guy, especially with what he's gone through over the years, and like then to finally reach the mountaintop. Yeah, it's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, hopefully there's more to come and he can be right up there every weekend, or a good chunk of the weekends. Be really awesome to see and awesome for the series too. With obviously so many dudes out, and with Chase going down, Webb picked up the pieces and grabbed second. So even though he's not getting the best starts, a little bit frustrated afterwards because all these guys want to win. He's in a really good position now, only 5 points back. I guess got them where he wants them to be. You can never write him off. It's a little bit of a last man standing vibe already happening at the moment. So he's in a prime position for that title push, isn't he, mate, to bring the pressure?
Oh, 100%. And, I mean, Coop looked good. Coop, that was like the first. I mean, the race win at Phoenix was good in the first main event of the Triple Crown there. But he didn't really look like he looked like not too bad. Looked better than what he had in the previous couple rounds, but he didn't look outstanding. But yeah, him winning the heat race and the way he looked, I was like, damn. I mean, he looks like he's picked it up a bit. And if it wasn't for a bad start, he probably would have been in contention. Oh well, I can't really say that the bad start cost him because he was with Malcolm, and Malcolm made his way through. But you know what? It was still at that night. I reckon, Coop was the biggest winner of that night. In terms of the championship. And I mean, if you're Cooper Webb right now, you got to be just licking your chops at this point because with Tomac being out now, Jet's out, Hunter's out, and then the guy that was in front of you in the points has thrown away a race and was only able to come home in fifth after leading 90% of the main event, and like how much of a downer that would be mentally for him. And with Coop being as mentally tough and resilient as he is, you just got to be going, man, I've got him right where I want him. Like couldn't ask for a better situation after the way that the season started. And yeah, so he's in prime position to make a run at this thing right now, and I just know he's going to get better. Like this is always the time of year where he seems to step it up. Like not just like years when he's won before, but it always seems to be the year. He always starts just a little bit slow, and you go, "Oh, what's going on here?" But then it's always this time of year, man, where he locks in and he goes, "All right, it's go time." So yeah, Coop's just he's in the driver's seat, in my opinion, anyway, to really make a run at this thing and grab a third championship.
Yeah, it's going to be so good, mate. And I guess after this weekend, we're essentially a third of the way through the season, more or less. So he might get those mind games going like he's done in the past. And it's weird. It's a bit disappointing in a way that those betting odds appear to have been gone since Jet's injury. So it'd be good to get some wonder what the odds were on Cooper Webb for that title. There was a few wild things going on there, mate. But
Yeah,
before I
well,
get your take on,
I actually went on this morning and had a look, and like the championship odds weren't up, but the race in Detroit this weekend, like those odds were up, and I haven't. They've gone back. I think they're redoing the numbers now because yeah, I think actually no, I know why it's changed now, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't jump on it when I had the chance because they still had Eli in there, and now
yeah.
like announced like that he's out, so that's probably why it come down. But yeah, like they were all paying like him, Eli and Sexton. They were paying like $2.50 for the win, and then like Malcolm was paying like 17 or $18 for a win, and Malcolm was even
201.
paying 7 for a podium. And you know what? I was like, oh, but I just rolled up to work and I was like, oh, dear, because I had to reload the account. And I was like, oh, shoot, I can't do this right now. I'm gonna have to wait, but hopefully it's still up later on. And then, yeah, the announcement of Tomac dropped, and now they're going to be redoing the numbers on everything. So I dare say, like the Mookie at 750 for just a podium, that thing's going to go way down. So yeah, I missed the boat on that one. But yeah, and then I missed. I was about I was about 4 or 5 weeks too early on him winning the main, even though I know it had come down a fair bit. But yeah, I was like, damn, I had the right idea. I was just a couple weeks too early.
Yeah, it's still wild looking back that he was 201 to 1, isn't it?
Oh man, that was crazy. I was like, man, that has just got to be the biggest bit of disrespect. Maybe that's what fired him up, really, more than anything. That's what I'd had. I was like, these these fucking guys have got me at 201 to 1. Like, are you kidding me? What are they thinking? I'm a scrub? And even like after that weekend, like, yeah, he was still like over $10. And I was like, damn, what are they? I was like, who is watching this thing? But yeah, I should have taken advantage of it when I had the chance. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I dare say the odds are going to fluctuate a fair bit now that Eli's out. But depending on the championship, championship markers. I mean, Coop'd have to jump up there a fair bit. This would probably be the time. Probably on the weekend would have been the time to get him because I think he was still at he was at like $7 or $8 the last time I checked before Tampa. And now, man, that thing is just going to drop like crazy. And especially with the weekend that Sexton's had, like, yeah, I mean, Coop's just got to be in the driver's seat at this point. Just with like how mentally resilient he is, and he's just super consistent. Like, very rarely has a major mistake. Like, yeah, and with Chase, unfortunately, has had the issue with the past with throwing races away, and unfortunately had another one on the weekend. But like he's gonna rebound. He's gonna be back. He's gonna be fast as usual. But yeah, that one's got to sting a lot. That one's got to sting a lot actually. Just with Eli struggling, now he's out, and then Jet being out. Like a lot of people like had already especially like after what happened to Eli in practice and the way he was looking during the night, like everyone had probably half already crowned Sexton by that point, and then had an issue in the whoops, and then ends up fifth. Coop gets second, only 5 points down now. Now the narrative has completely changed. Thing to see how he responds. Put it
Yeah, I was
that
going to
way.
say so much talk about Sexton and the starts, and he gets the whole shot, and then he can't finish the job, so that'll be playing on his mind too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be playing a major factor. Having the race in hand, and then just 2 minutes to go, and just just throws it away at the end, unfortunately. And And like, who knows? Like, the whoops were catching everyone off. Like, he wasn't the only one. But it's like in a situation like that, if a guy is going, if he's ends up catching you that quick, do you? I mean, he's a racer, so he's not going to he's not just going to give away a win like when he's been leading the race the whole time. But is it a time like that where like maybe you just go, hey, I don't have the speed. um, I might not be able to hang on to this thing. I might be riding a little bit on edge, like that might lead to a crash. Do I just hold it? Do I just hold back a little bit, come home in second, and then just move on? Next weekend's another weekend. But yeah, instead of extending the points lead, because Mookie was like a fair way back at that point, and the next closest guy to him is Coop. Do you just bring it home in second? Because instead of gaining 2 points, you end up losing like about, I forget what it was. I think he lost about like 6 or 7 points maybe. But yeah, and then Coop's now, instead of it being double digits, he's down to 5 points. And you got to know, being second, you're like, damn, if it's like one guy who you don't want in the hunt, it's got to be Cooper Webb, because he's going to be playing the mind games. He's gonna be confident. Like, to just be, oh yeah, he's got his hands full now, 100%.
Yeah, mate, well said. It's going to be so good to see how that battle plays out. And yeah, well, like we said, just hope they all stay healthy, mate, for the rest of the season, because there's already been too many injuries. But shout out to Justin Cooper getting fourth. Obviously, he was just solid, consistent, doesn't like getting too crazy out of his comfort zone. And I guess he's jumping the whoops, and that's costed him in the first few rounds, but it kind of played into his hands here. He just kept it stable, kept things comfortable on a brutal track. He doesn't sort of overextend. So, yeah, fourth place is nothing to sneeze at, mate, in the 450 main. So fair play to him. It's not flashy, it's not super exciting, but it's getting the job done. And that's what he's paid to do, mate. So Barsha
Yeah.
in sixth, Savachi seventh, Plessinger in eighth, and I believe McElrath got ninth because Justin
Yeah.
Hill got a penalty. So there's some pretty good
Yeah.
efforts there. The Quad Lock Honda boys, two in the top 10. You take that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Two of those boys in the top 10. Yeah, and like they'd had a rough couple of rounds leading up to that one, but yeah, the boys have been just slowly chipping away, and then to go back on Cooper, he's been like quietly consistent, really. Like, he's just he's been there. I mean, he hasn't really made a whole lot of noise, and I mean, that was a sneaky fourth place finish, because I didn't really have him on like on camera really until the end, when he made the move. Well, like, they didn't actually get him past and chase, but he was on the back of him, and like that was a sneaky like fourth place finish. And now that a couple of guys are out, and he's definitely got to get better at the whoops. Like that's just like one thing you got to have in your arsenal, really. And so like he's definitely got to get better at that. But I mean, on a night like that, when it was claiming a few, I mean, hey, everyone takes the piss out of guys that jump the whoops. But hey, I tell you what, sometimes jumping through the whoops is better than ending up face down in the whoops. Put it that way, yeah. So yeah, it was a solid ride by him. He's just putting the results together, and just got to keep chipping away at it. Now with a few guys out, he's looking like he could make a run at a podium or two throughout the season. So solid ride by him. Hats off.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And obviously the 250 class was wild. Obviously, we touched on the horrible Pierce Brown injury when he was riding so well, carrying that momentum from the last SMX round into the preseason. He was looking good up until then, mate. But yeah, Anstey just showed his class, just that experience, the consistency. First full season on that Star Yamaha after joining last year, and pretty awesome for Bennick too. Star going 1-2, but there was many doubts about him. He obviously had a good start to last year, and it just went steadily downhill, and he's come back with a bang, which is pretty impressive. Just a really good reminder of how good he really is. So, and then obviously McAdoo getting third with a torn ACL. What a brave man. He's a weapon. He's done it in the past, mate. So you wonder how that recovery looks week to week. You can see him limping and in obvious pain and discomfort, but Yeah, I guess he said it's not sustainable to keep it like this, but I'll get through Supercross and then get it fixed. But pretty impressive effort, isn't it?
Oh man, massive effort. I mean, yeah, I mean Cameron McAdoo is just a beast, dude. I had the opportunity to race him a few times, got to meet him, and like he's just an awesome dude, super nice, cruisy guy, and like I said, just a beast. Like I mean, to be riding on a torn ACL, like I mean, I've been fortunate. I never had any knee injuries throughout my career, and like I know a lot of guys who have, and like it's brutal. So to be out there riding on a torn ACL is just unreal. And then like making a push like he did, like didn't get the greatest start, and then made his way into fourth. I think he actually, from what I heard, he passed into third just before the red flag came out, and then when they restarted it, they put him back to fourth. And so he had to find his way around Hammaker again, and he just put in a solid ride. Like there was obviously a bunch of chaos going on around him, but he just stuck with it. Left round one with a podium, which I mean, last year, he was in the first turn pile up, and then he ended up riding the whole main event with the berries hanging out. But so it's a lot better than round one last year, and just a solid ride for him. And then but it's the tough part for him is going to be, I'm sure he's like with a torn ACL. I'm pretty sure you got to, like, your knee will be swelling up a bit. It'll obviously be uncomfortable. He's going to have to probably get that thing drained every week with the amount of fluid that builds up in there. And or I don't know. I mean, I didn't know this till he was on a podcast recently, but turns out McGrath rode his whole career with no ACL. Like, so it can be done. It's obviously not advised, but it can be done. You can race one of the great. Well, it's the greatest Supercross career on a torn ACL. So like it can be done. It'll be tough to manage it during the week, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it's brutal, but he's put himself in a good spot. Obviously, with these 250 classes, anything can happen. And he's just got to keep being consistent, and then see what happens. But I mean, Anstey just put on an absolute clinic that weekend. I mean, he was like the guy to beat from the get go. Like threw it down in practice, qualified number one, got a heat race win, and then unfortunately, like he got passed by Pierce Brown. Pierce Brown ends up taking a nasty one in the whoops, and now he's out. But he just rode a flawless race, really. Just looked like he was on cruise control. The way he was going through the corners, like standing up in the corners, just cruising through it, just jumping everything, looked effortless. I mean, he's got to be one of the most like massive improvements from a guy that was like, he was decent at Supercross, but he wasn't great at it. But he has just come alive the last couple of years. Like he's just a Supercross phenom now. And he scored the win. A lot of guys had bad nights. Obviously, RJ was the next fastest guy. He ends up finishing 18th. And then Daxton Bennick, who put in a good solid ride for second, he gets penalized 5 points. So he ends up walking away from round one with a 5-point lead. So, I mean, you can't ask for much. You can't ask for much more than that. And right now it's just just keeping the hammer down, and then just being smart with it. And obviously he's pretty wise with the age he is. And if you're the other guys in the class, like that's a tough man to climb, especially with Anstey riding the way he is at the moment. But I mean, hey, anything can happen. Like we've seen it happen multiple times this year where we thought, we knew what was going to happen, and it just takes a complete 180. So anything can happen. The best you can do is just keep going the way he's going and just stay out of trouble, really.
Yeah, well said, mate. And obviously you picked Anstey for the win, so fair play to you too, mate. Respect. And what did you think of that 4 gear as well?
a lot of man, everyone. I did not hear one positive review about that gear from any of my mates on the weekend. They were like, "Man, that gear is trash." But I didn't mind it. I actually like the colors of it. Nah, just yeah, Everyone was, all my mates were bagging on it, but I didn't mind it really. I thought it was mint.
It was different, but yeah, mate, you got the pick, and obviously you had RJ and Vial for second and third. Vial got fifth, just a steady
Yeah,
night, and then you had Webb for the win, which was pretty close, mate, because Mookie sort of came out of nowhere with that a bit, and then Tomac and
yeah.
Sexton second and third. And I guess we can start on the Detroit picks as well, mate. But before we do that, you've obviously raced in Detroit 2014 250 SX East. So any recollections of Detroit from that night, mate?
Yeah. Well, Detroit, let's just put it this way. One of my favorite stops, not only because I didn't have the greatest result there, but that place is a gnarly place. Like it is, like downtown Detroit is a gnarly joint. And I was just lucky to drive my van out of that place without having any bullet holes in it, put it that way. But the people from around there are nice. I can't say a bad word about the people, but yeah, Detroit, that place. I mean, you got to be strapped around that joint. Put it that way. Love their pizza too. Love a Detroit style pizza. That's about the one thing I like about that joint. The pizza is absolutely phenomenal.
And it would have been freezing too, wouldn't it?
Oh, cold as balls. Just cold as balls. Like coming from North Queensland, like living in the heat all the time. I always thought when I was going over to these places, I was like, man, it must be awesome to live in a place where like you don't have to sweat every day. Like that would just be unreal. Turns out I'd rather just live in the heat and just sweat my balls off constantly, because being in the cold is next level. Like you got to be built different to live and work in those conditions every day. So they're tough SOBs over there in the Motor City. I take my hat off to them. Can't say it would be a destination place that I would want to move to, put it that way.
Oh, mate, that's a good insight. Yeah, there's certainly some pretty interesting stories over the years from Detroit, mate. And I guess who are your picks? Who you got for this weekend, mate? It's looking like a bit of a two or three-way shootout, but Mookie could definitely get up there again, mate. And the 250 class is a bit like anyone's guess, except you kind of know that Anstey has the edge over them in sort of a lot of aspects of racing too, isn't it, mate? Just with his experience. So who are you going for?
So 450, I'm going to say Coop gets the win this weekend. I think he's going to continue his momentum, and he's going to work on the starts a bit, put himself in a much better position. I'm going to say Chase for second. I think he rebounds a little. I think he rebounds a little bit, but I think Coop's going to edge him out for the win this weekend. I'm going to put Mookie for third. Like he's on a bit of a roll at the moment. Who knows? If he can back it up, that'd be good. I'm going to say he's a solid third this weekend. Like his over under should be like third, like 3.5. Like that should be his over under for this weekend. So yeah, that'll be my 450 podium. For the 250s, I'm going to say Anstey goes back to back, and then like especially Detroit being a slick track, he's good on the slick stuff. He's got good throttle control, and his riding style suits that sort of track. RJ will rebound, get second this weekend, and then I'm gonna go with, for third place. I'm gonna go with Seth Hamaker. Seth Hamaker will put it on the box this weekend, get a third place.
Yeah, that's some good picks, mate. It's obviously a lot of guys in the 250 class like Kitchen and Faulkner didn't have great nights. He's touched on RJ, so even
Yeah,
Rowland with that cool setup he's got going, obviously had an issue and didn't finish. But yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot of guys with a lot of room for improvement, isn't there, mate? So it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Levi Kitchen for me was probably the surprise of like how. I mean, poor's a bad name, but it was a poor performance. Like he looked like he was struggling. I don't know what he's got going on. I mean, we know he pulled out of the first round of West Coast like due to being ill, and he just doesn't look 100%. Like, yeah, he like especially like from the form he had last year to right now, and especially with having a bit more time to get over his illness and be ready for East Coast. Yeah, I was expecting him to come out guns blazing, but yeah, just absolutely struggled that night. So yeah, I'm not sure. And he was the surprise, and yeah, Volan was putting together a solid ride. I mean, the way he's riding, like with that handbrake system, is just unreal. And like he was looking good too. He's actually making a bit of a run up until he went down, and then I think there was an issue with it that they hadn't really like come across until then. So yeah, hopefully they figure that out because man, he's riding good, he's looking good, and yeah, I hope to see him on the box at some point. Yeah, and I think he can do it. The way he's riding, he can definitely do it. So yeah, hopefully we'll see Max on the podium at some point.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's going to be good to watch for, that's for sure. And I guess one last thing before we wrap up, obviously, what your final thoughts, what the weekend's looking like. And obviously, we saw the Ducati launched MXGP team last night in Bergamo in Italy there. And we've noticed, they got the DC sponsorship on the front of the jersey and on the bike. So something a little bit different. So we'll have to do some digging as to what's going on there. But something a little bit different from motocross. Ducati's got on board there, mate.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about it pre-show when you were saying it looks like they got a DC logo on the front. I was like, a DC logo on the front? Ain't that company been out of business for like 10 years? And then yeah, it turns out we did some digging on the internet, and they're still producing some shoes. And yeah, so it's awesome for the sport. I mean, DC was like so iconic like for a lot of years, and it was like synonymous with motocross and supercross for all those years. So yeah, no, it's good that it's back in the fold, and yeah, with Ducati, so perfect partnership.
Yeah, mate, it's good stuff. What's the week looking like ahead for you? Flat out on the tools, mate, and obviously the
Oh,
weekends saved for Supercross and golf.
yeah, we are wedged at the moment, and unfortunately, the weather has not improved one bit so far. There's been a lot of rain. I think this weekend, not a lot of golf will be getting played once again. So I've been hard at it in the net, just honing the skills in the net. And then hopefully once I go back out on course, like yeah, we'll be guns blazing. But yeah, so this weekend I'm actually going up to Port Douglas for the weekend. Really, me and the missus are going up for a weekend. Valentine's Day weekend. Spend that quality time together. But I mean, once Sunday comes around, like it's locked in. It's like, hey, nah. Look, we've had the quality time. Now it's time for your boy to lock in and come out with some ridiculous takes for Soupy.
Oh, I can't wait, mate. Yeah, shout out to my wife as well for Valentine's Day. They put up with us, don't they, mate? So that's
Oh
been
yeah,
another
big
Ripper
time.
podcast, that one. But yeah, we'll definitely we'll chat next week, mate. That was another awesome podcast. Plenty of good insight. Bit of Detroit action as well, bit of Ducati stuff. So we'll expect to see some pretty choice content from you, mate. And obviously, thanks to the sponsors in Fly Racing, 24MX, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkaleen for all their incredible support. As without them, none of this would be possible. All right, thanks again, Jats, mate. Been another quality one, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. Too easy.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.